Well, we've had a lot of episodes of Locked On Predators this summer and have covered a lot of topics, and now it is time to hear your takes. We are going to be reading some of the viewer responses to our episodes today on the Locked On Predators podcast.
Your Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making the Locked On Predators podcast your first listen of the day every single day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, want to start out with a special hello to our loyal Locked On Pred heads out there, the everydayers who tune into every single show. We appreciate you guys, and we love the support you give us week after week. I'm Nate Morgan. I am a writer at Penalty Box Radio, and I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer at InsideThePreds.com.
All right. So, Ann, every day when we do a show, we tag by saying, hey, let us know your thoughts.
Yeah.
Leave some comments on YouTube, tweet us, and you guys certainly have. We may not always, shout it out on the show or respond back, but we always see your posts and we always appreciate the love you give us. And it's time to amplify some of that love or some of those disagreements. Some of the hate on some of the takes we've had, Ann.
That's true. Look, we're here for it all. We want to hear what you're thinking, whether you disagree, agree. And like Nick said, love seeing your thoughts. So this is a great episode. I'm super pumped about this one.
We are. So we got some viewer comments we're going to respond to in just a second. But first, want to mention out, I guess, a little bit of a somber note. Revolving around our boy Ryan Ellis, who we still love here in Nashville. It sounds like Ryan Ellis's career is probably over at this point. And Keith Jones, the president of hockey ops at Phil in the Flyers, Ryan has an injury that doesn't look like it's going to be career ending. So yeah, this seems to be the last we've seen of Ryan Ellis in a NHL uniform. And I think the best way to just sum it up is, it just sucks all around.
Yeah, this was really tough. And obviously everybody knows that Ellis has been battling some pretty significant injuries. Yesterday it was revealed it's a torn psoas muscle in his back. He has been doing rehab. He has exhausted all of the medical options. He has pursued all kinds of treatments to try to get back to playing in the NHL, and it just does not look likely. So this was this one hit a little hard. I know he's been with the Flyers, hasn't played a lot of games with the Flyers, but this one hits hard for Nashville Predators fans because Ryan Ellis was such an important part of this franchise for so long and was such a critical piece to Nashville's success that they have had. So yeah, yesterday felt a little somber. I will also say my invisible backpack of hockey grudges was exceptionally heavy when I read that yesterday because screw you, Corey Perry.
Yeah.
Just brings up all the bad feels about that whole winter
just all the past ways Ryan Ellis has been wronged.
That's right.
Yeah, you never want to see a player go out on terms that aren't his. And especially here, it's because we've heard from Ryan, and even though he wasn't thrilled about leaving Nashville, he was excited about playing with Philly and maybe getting a chance to win a cup and sort of be kind of a main mentor on a young team. And it sucks that he doesn't get to finish his career, but his memories in Nashville, boy, those are some good memories. Top 10 player all time for the Nashville Predators.
I think
pretty easy to say.
Yeah, got to be. What he and Roman Josi did as a pairing, I mean, the Predators have seen nothing like it since then. And, you know, just looking back over, we're talking about where the defense is now and looking back kind of where they came from when they had that Josi Ellis magic going on and the Subban Ekholm. You know, the Predators are in a different place defensively now. We're going to talk about that in a little bit later. But yeah, tough. This is a really tough one. It's tough to see Ryan Ellis's career end this way. Great guy, y'all. Great guy.
Yeah. Best of luck to him. Yes. Hope he, you know, stays healthy and has a, you know, kind of a long, you know, fruitful post-hockey career because he deserves it. Great guy all around. Let's transition, Ann, to our main topic today, which is viewer responses.
Let's go.
To our Locked on Predators episodes. We have had a lot of talk this summer, you know, prospects, some of the moves the Preds have made with, you know, giving away Duchene and Johansen and bringing in, you know, team of veterans, including Ryan O'Reilly. You know, we've talked, you know, breakout candidates, possible MVPs for next year. There is a lot to go through, Ann. So let's jump right into it. What is our first viewer comment that we need to break down?
So I am going to pull a comment from our 3 reasons the Preds can make the playoffs episode that we did just recently. It was the one where we were most comfortable in our Optimist gear. I want to highlight Uper Sports Fanatics comment. And I think this is a great observation. Uper Sports Fanatics said, the one issue I've had with the Predators lately is the lack of shots on goal, especially on the power play. Just way too much passing and not enough pucks to the net. Can I give an amen and a yes said it to Uber Sports Fanatics? You know, kind of pulling some stats to look at this. Preds were 23rd in shots per game last season overall, 44th in power play goals, 27th in the league in power play percentage. They did not have even one player crack the top 50 when it came to power play goals. So there is something to be said here about the Predators' lack of shooting when it comes to the power play. Not even success. And I really think you nailed it. It's not even just not success. It's the pucks on the net with the power play last season. It was tough.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? We kind of went to 2 different extremes. Like we had Pierre Laviolette where it was just, you were shooting as soon as you got the puck.
Yes.
You know, you weren't setting up. You're just trying to get that puck to the point and just fire off a shot. Now you have, you know, the John Hines system where it's, you know, a lot of patience. It's, you know, making an extra pass and, you know, trying to, you know, move it around to open things up and, you know, not really, you know, being aggressive with it. And it's funny how we just kind of went to 2 different extremes, but confident that we may see a little bit different from, you know, a little bit of a different thing from Andrew Burnett. Maybe a nice, healthy medium is what we need on the power play this year, Ann.
Yeah, and Andrew Brunette, of course, was in charge of the power play with the New Jersey Devils. A lot of people were critical, felt like, you know, with all of the talent that they had on that power play unit, it should have been more successful. But I do think he's going to bring in a fresh approach for the Nashville Predators. I also think it's going to be interesting to see the units that they put together, because if you look at last season, Roman Josi led with 8 power play goals. Second was Cody Glass, who had 6. Half of those came at the end of the season from late March on, when you had so many of the power play guys out. Forsberg out, Josi out, Duchene out. So will we see somebody like Cody Glass make the top unit? Will we see somebody like Luke Evangelista or Phil Tomasino, who had most of his goals were on the power play? So I think we're going to see a different unit perhaps, but also I'm with you. Can we please kind of find that middle ground, that Goldilocks chair, you know, for the power play? Because there was way too much, and I love him, and we're going to talk about him later, too much Matt Duchene getting it down and skating it around in a circle in the corner, y'all.
Yeah.
Not where the net is, friend.
Yeah. Right idea. Bad execution.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if the Preds can turn that around this year.
Yeah.
More comments from you guys coming up in just a little bit. But first, want to mention today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, you can take your first swing at betting on Major League Baseball on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. All you have to do is put down $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's an extra $200 you can spend on betting from everything, from the money line to the over under to who you think is going to be get the first home run in the game you're watching. And it's all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you can get paid instantly. That's why there's no better place to bet on Major League Baseball than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. Again, FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. All right, Ann, our show today, we are reading viewer comments from our takes on the Predators this offseason from our treasure trove of shows that we've done this year. We talked a little bit about needing more shots on goal, especially on the power play. What is our next question, Ann?
All right. Well, I'm going to touch on another one from our friend Uper Sports Fanatic in the same episode, same comment, but definitely I think something that we want to touch on. Uper Sports Fanatic says, I even think it's got to be a big focus for the defenseman other than Roman Josi to get involved in goal scoring also more this year than in years past. 100% agree with this. If you look at last season's stats, Josi was third in goals. He had 18. The next defenseman was Mattias Ekholm with 5 goals. After that, we're looking at goal-scoring lightning guy Jeremy Lauzon with 3.
Yeah, so, let's go.
I mean, you've got 8 blue liners. They scored 37 goals last season, but almost half of those were from Roman Josi. So look, this is something that the Nashville Predators are going to have to address with this defense. Yes, you're going to have solid defensemen. You're going to have guys who are kind of playing back, who are being a little bit maybe more conservative in some situations with a young team in front of them. But where are we going to see some more offense on this blue line, Nick?
Well, Tyson Barrie is going to help with that,
yeah.
Assuming he's on the team because, who knows at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to me, it's not necessarily the defenseman scoring goals. It's just the defenseman contributing to goals, like being involved in the offense. Somebody maybe jumping into the play to set up a pass or something like that. And yeah, it'd be nice to just see, jump in and, launch a giant slap shot that goes in. That would be great. But, it's just we need them to contribute more to the scoring, which was a big step back. I don't foresee Alexander Carrier having another sub 10-point season.
Agreed.
Maybe there's a little bit more in Dante Fabro's tank that Andrew Burnett can coach out of him. I think it's pretty telling that, one of Barry Trotz's first moves, or at least as, after his thing was announced, was to bring back Dante Fabro on a 1-year deal. So maybe he sees something that, he would like him to play a little bit different way. But yeah, I don't necessarily think it's the defenseman scoring goals. I just, think maybe they just need to be a little bit more involved in the offense than they have been under John Hines. And I do think Andrew Burnett's going to change that this year.
Yeah. And I think you've hit on it. The key for me is going to be Alexander Carrier. I think this is a player who has a lot of offensive upside. Again, maybe not necessarily the one scoring the goals, but I think really being involved in setting some great things up. We just didn't see enough of him last season because of injury. He's got next year to sort of prove it and see what he can contribute, in a 2-way game. So Alexander Carrier is somebody that I want to keep an eye on when it comes to offense from the Blue Liners.
With you there. Next viewer comment that we want to break down, Ann.
All right, here's one that I'm very interested to get your take on. What are your expectations for Phil Tomasino this upcoming season?
That's a good question. Who do we need to give a shout out to where that one came from?
This is also from our friend Uper. Can't remember the word, Uper Sports Fanatic. What are our expectations for Phil Tomasino? Look, this is one that I think a lot of people are asking. This is one that I feel like I'm asking myself a lot as well.
Well, first off, Uper Sports, MVP of the show so far.
Let's go.
Probably need to shuffle these a little bit. Yeah, I mean, Phil Tomasino, I think out of all the younger players, with the exception of Cody Glass and Juuso Parssinen, that have clearly, I think, earned their spots at this point, he is, I think, the young player that I think is going to get, you know, I don't want to say given an opportunity, but he is going to have like his name penciled in on top of the list, because I feel like Tomasino is the guy that the Predators need to find a way to get him on the NHL team and stay there, and in a top role as well. I mean, look, you know, Phil Tomasino, we know what the story was last year. I mean, he scored 31 goals from the fourth line as a 20-year-old, you know, his first season in the NHL. Went to the AHL last year, you know, came up and played very, very well at the end of the season. And if you take, you know, what his scoring total was and multiply it to an 82-game season, it would have been 48 points, which was, you know, would have been a big jump and pretty good also for a 21-year-old playmaker on a pretty bad team. So he has, you know, you see growth in his game. You know, if Andrew Burnett comes in, you know, this is a guy that, you know, maybe he hits like 50, 60 points this year, and you would be able to say, okay, that's a big step forward. I don't think we need to put the expectations too high and say, oh yeah, he's going to be a, you know, if he didn't burn his first year of eligibility, he'd be a Calder guy or anything like that.
Right.
I think I would be happy with just seeing a big step forward.
Yeah.
This year.
What do you think he needs to do to get there?
Well, he's got to make the team.
Yeah.
First off. And look, like I just said, the Predators should be doing everything they can to kind of at least pencil him in on a spot, because I think that's kind of your priority. But at the same time, if you're Phil Tomasino is looking at a different depth chart. You got to earn it too.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, it goes both ways. Like, Preds need to give him a chance to earn his spot. But if you're Tomasino, you've got to go out there and lock that down. Like, you've got to have a really good camp. I'm not one of these people that says like, oh, Phil Tomasino's not on the team this year, like the Preds are done with him or anything like that. But I will say I would be disappointed if, you know, on this roster, Phil Tomasino can't stick around in an impact role.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think this is a good opportunity for him. I would like to see him be a little bit stronger with the puck. Sometimes I felt like he got pushed off the puck a little bit too easy last season. But I do think he's got a lot of upside. And I think he is one of the players who could really use this reset as a really good opportunity. So he's definitely a player for me to keep an eye on. Yeah. You touched on another player, Juuso Parssinen, and we have a comment kind of about Juuso Parssinen, the youth, the future of the team, maybe not as optimistic as you and I typically are. So let's talk about this. This is from, I'm not sure I'm going to get this name right, Saskatoon Tiger.
Sounds great to me.
Sounds great to me. This was from our Could Juuso Parssinen and Carriers breakout season happen in 2023-24 episode. Saskatoon Tiger said, last season, Juuso Parssinen, quote, came in as one of the best two-way players that the Preds had on their roster, which may be a red flag about the way the roster was built last year. I believe you said that.
Yep.
Exactly. Overall, this year's roster is worse. And if you take a really good look at the prospect pool, it doesn't seem like it's going to be any better in the foreseeable future either. What do you think about that comment?
I mean, this year's roster might be worse. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
In terms of the prospect pool, that's the one that I'm like, I don't know about that.
Right.
You know, the Predators prospect pool, remember, it wasn't that long ago, only a couple of years, that the Predators prospect pool was kind of considered one of the worst in the NHL. And now through, I think, a lot of, you know, mid-round finds and, you know, players that have kind of developed, you know, either more or faster than they, you know, originally thought. Parsonson's one of them. There's a lot of people very high on the Predators prospect pool. I think Scott Wheeler had him as high as 10th
Mm-hmm.
best in the NHL. There's a lot of people that, consider them maybe even higher with the amount of talent they have. Surefire couple of, high-end top scoring prospects and Matthew Wood and Joachim Kamel, Yaroslav Askarov, arguably one of the two best goalie prospects in, the entire NHL system right now.
Agreed.
So I do think there is, a lot of good talent in that prospect pool. Is there anybody like, I guess a Trevor Zegras or, a Luke Hughes or somebody like that where, you just see them being an absolute blue chip?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. But I do think there is plenty of talent in that prospect pool that the Nashville Predators can utilize. And, don't forget, we might have another seller's market at the trade deadline. We have a lot of draft picks over the next 2 drafts. I think the Nashville Predators prospect pool is only going to get better.
Yeah, I would agree with you. If you look at the roster for Milwaukee next season, you were looking at, first-round players, Fedor Svechkov, Joachim Kamel, Reed Schaefer, Zachary Leroux is going to be there. Yaroslav Askarov, I agree with you. I think he's one of the top prospects. The Hockey News just said, look, if you're looking at goalie prospects across, the entire league, you're looking at Yaroslav Askarov as one of the best. Now, a little unorthodox fella, but what the Predators do with him, and the Predators traditionally can develop the fire out of their goalie prospects. So I think great things ahead for him. But I agree with you. You look at Matthew Wood, who they got this year. The other one that I love is Tanner Molendyk. I am telling you, he was drafted in the first round. One of the big things about him is his skating. It is absolutely mesmerizing, this kid's skill. I do think the prospect pool may be a little bit lean defensively, but Molendyk helps. You know that I loved what I saw from the little bit we got to see Spencer Stastny in the NHL this year. So defensively, I would like to see it a little bit more beefy, but I think there's a tremendous amount of talent. And remember, Juuso Parssinen, 7th round pick. So it doesn't necessarily, the Predators can develop somebody who maybe isn't a first round, like you said, Trevor Zegras, into something special. So don't give up hope on the youngins, folks.
Yeah, I'm ready to see how this prospect pool responds for sure. And more viewer comments coming up in just a second. But first, want to remind everybody that Locked On Predators is your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. You can get us wherever you get your podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify, insert the name of the podcast platform you listen to here. And you can also find us on YouTube. Wherever you are listening to us, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Really helps us out. All right, and we are reading viewer comments from past Locked On Predators episodes. We are getting the viewers' take on some of the topics we covered this summer. What is our next topic, Anne?
All right, so this next topic comes from Sax Maverick on our episode about MVPs. I know, I want to give a shout out for that. That name is absolutely killer.
Yeah.
A lot of good thoughts from Sax Maverick. The one that I kind of want to discuss is talking about Luke Evangelista. Sax Maverick says Luke should be gearing up to be a top-line forward for the next 4 to 5 years easy. Where do you see Luke Evangelista's career going with the Nashville Predators? And give me a timeline.
I'm with you. I'm with you right there. I think he's going to be a top forward. You saw it last year, just the explosiveness he played with. And that was, he was one of the most exciting players on the ice for Nashville last season, while still having some very visible shortcomings that he's going to need to fix. And once he fixes those, lights out.
Yeah,
I think you might see Evangelista get a top 6 role this year just based on, the people that are on the roster right now. He's somebody that maybe is just really good on the other side of Philip Forsberg too. I think he's somebody that might get low key some first line minutes this year.
Yeah.
When the line shakes. I mean, there's a couple other players you could kind of put there too, but I think this guy is going to get a prime chance to contribute this year. And if not this year, then I think by next year, you're probably going to see Evangelista in a role. I think he's ready. I think his game is well developed enough that he can handle that responsibility. So I think you're going to see Evangelista as kind of one of the main cogs in the Preds offense sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And I think where the Predators at really sets Luke Evangelista up for success. I agree with you. I would love to see him on a line with Filip Forsberg because I think he is that smart. I think his hockey IQ is Filip Forsberg level. I think he reads the game the way that Filip Forsberg does. I think he plays it mentally at a speed that can keep up with what Filip Forsberg can do. I'm very curious to see where he ends up out of training camp. I think this is another player like Tomasino. Training camp is going to be critical. But I do think the Predators are going to err on the side of giving him some grace and giving him an opportunity. And Luke Evangelista could be the next Filip Forsberg for the Nashville Predators. This is a guy who could be that core guy like Filip Forsberg is. So absolutely agree with that comment.
And different too, because you have Cody Glass and Phil Tomasino who are really good playmakers with the puck, but I think Evangelista kind of has that eye and nose for the net.
Yes. Yeah. And we need that. Let's talk about shots on goal.
Yes. We covered that already. All right. And another topic.
All right. This comment comes from one of our Locked On Pred heads, Carl-Johan Faust. 199. And I hope I pronounced that name right, Carl-Johan. My apologies if I didn't, but we see your comments. We love to hear from you. This was a comment on our part 1 mailbag, and he was talking about Barry Trotz building this new Nashville Predators team. And the comment says, I don't see him build by any stretch of an imagination a bad team, but I worry that his rebuild will lead again to some kind of status quo that the Preds were meant to move away from. Thoughts on that?
I'm curious what he means by status quo.
I think it is back to where the Predators were. Like, hey, we're going to be a playoff team every season, but we're not going to be a contention team.
I mean, yeah, but isn't that always the risk that you kind of take when you go through a rebuild?
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like, that might get to the status quo to start.
Right.
Remember, this past Predators core hit the status quo from like 2010 to 2015, and it was forever until they finally could break through and they got to the Stanley Cup and they won a President's Trophy and all of this. So I think at this point, you kind of want to get back to where you were in like 2018, 2019. That's the start. And then once you get there and this core is young enough, then you start making some moves to sort of elevate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of really take yourself from just a, whatever team to, the team that's going to contend. It's possible that they may hit that point like they did when they started, bringing in like Duchene and Turris and all those players.
Right.
But, at this point, you would just, with the roster that they have right now, you would just be happy to get back to that point. And now your core is young enough that you can kind of build from there.
I think there's going to be a case of hockey sunburn that we're going to have to deal with the Nashville Predators in this reset. And what I mean by that is, when you get a sunburn, just the lightest touch makes you go, ah. Yeah. And I think the Nashville Predators fans feel like they have been stuck in status quo. Like, hey, we're so close. We're just going to add this one piece and we're going to get right there. And I think that there is just this visceral, natural reaction that may occur if the Nashville Predators this season get in the wild, get a wild card spot and exit the first round of the playoffs, which would be fantastic. That would be a successful season. But because it's what we've seen, I think the natural reaction will be, we're back to where we were. And I think you have to keep that big picture. Like this is a 2 to 3 years we're looking at. And so I think part of navigating that is just being aware of the fact that like this may look the same, but it's different. It may feel the same, but it's really different. So, let's see what the Predators can do. And I almost hate to say this as a Hawktimist, but it might even just be easier for some Predators fans if the Predators don't make the playoffs this season and exit in the first round.
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen.
But there'll be some people turning into the Joker. But it's also, you got to keep in mind the context.
Right.
The context of where this team is, the context of what this done. If we're talking about the Preds making the playoffs and getting knocked out of the first year 2 years ago, that's a lot different than everything that's happened in the past 6 months and talking about the Predators getting into the playoff spot this year.
Yeah.
That's different because now you're doing it with young players like Evangelista and Tomasino and Cody Glass in prime roles. That's different than, 2 $8 million centers in the middle of your lineup and, Norris Guy and all these people you gave up prospects and big money for. It's a different context this year. So again, the Predators might sneak into the playoffs and get bounced, in the first round. But to me, that would be a step forward from where they were overall as a team, heading into this season.
Yeah. I always tell my kids some of the best advice I feel like I've ever given my kids are feelings are like farts. You cannot always trust them. And I think you have to remember that as a Nashville Predators fan this season. If the Predators, like you said, get a wild card, get in and get bounced out of the first round in an embarrassing fashion, it may feel the same, but I assure you it's different.
That is one hell of a quote to end on.
It's just truth.
Yeah. Well, thank you for everybody who comments on our post and sends in tweets and responds to some of the stuff we talk about. Thank you so much. We're going to keep doing these throughout the offseason and maybe a couple of different times during the season as well. So make sure you guys are still sending in your takes, and your responses to what we talk about on the show. Even if we don't read them or comment back, we do see them and we do appreciate all your feedback. And where can people find you?
People can find my work online at InsideThePreds.com. You can find me on Twitter. I can't get there, y'all. It's still Twitter to me at AnnK_Mama on Ice.
You can find me at penaltyboxradio.com, and I'll just say it for you, Ann. You can find me on X.
It feels so good.
It's going to have to be said at some point. You can find me on the Tweety app, the app that you send tweets on, at _NS Morgan. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We will be back next Monday with an all-new episode. We will see you then.